All right. So, what events growing up like um I don't know, like the stock market crash or like and World War II, there's stuff like that. How
Yeah.
did that impact you?
Oh, we can go. When I grew up in Wheelock, we had the drought and the depression the whole time.
Mhm.
There was no rain, and we lived in town, but we had a farm,
Mhm.
and they um, put in the crops, get seed loans and feed loans from the Bank of North Dakota,
Mhm.
but the whole time it was depression and drought, and so anyway, um, when they they go, we had cows and pigs and chickens and everything, and I wasn't really with that so much, but my brother was with my dad,
Mhm.
and anyway, when we graduated from high school in 1939, I went to Fargo and he went to Bottineau to college,
Mhm.
and the next month they foreclosed on our property.
Dang.
So that was 39. Well, he passed away in 48, my dad did,
Mhm.
and my brother and my mother bought the farm back. So we still have it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And they're thinking of maybe we'll have an oil well. Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah.
Oh man.
um.
But through our life, we were never deprived of anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It never felt mother was a wonderful cook and we had, a nice home and everything. But um, mother referred to them as the hard years.
Mhm.
And that's about what they were. Hard for them, but they never made it hard for us. And here was the school. There was the school, and here's where we lived.
Mhm.
So we had just a little ways to go to school.
Yeah.
And they built the school the year we went to first grade,
Mhm.
and we went to that school for 12 years.
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
Exciting. Um. So more back to like religion. With your Catholic religion, were you like were most of the people like in your town Catholic or was it
No, nobody.
nobody?
Just one other family.
Yeah.
Um, Everybody almost was Lutheran
Mhm.
or Seventh Day Adventist.
Yeah.
But again, Noli, I, I'm not bragging about my family, but they were so broad-minded. There was never anything because somebody was something else.
Yeah.
I mean, it was they made, you blended in so nicely with them. They do anything for you, and you do anything for them.
Mhm.
And like mother, she'd send us to the bachelor. There was quite a few bachelors in town, and say, "Don't cook dinner." They called noon. "Don't cook dinner because mother is cooking it, and then we'll bring it to you." And so then you'd bring it to them when it was ready.
Mhm.
But this was the advice: you must never go in. You know, they never explained any reason, but it wasn't maybe safe to go. I mean, they didn't mean that they were bad,
Mhm.
but there was a fellow by the name of Halver Sandoline,
Mhm.
and mother had the post office then when Manaha retired. And like I say, mother was so good. Like Ruth said, your mother fed half a wheelock. But anyway, Halver came in one day, and mother was very polite. She said, "Mr. Sandoline, may I help you?" "No, not today. But Mrs. Miloni, I just came to tell you that I love you." And just all that warmth, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And like one time it snowed, and Mother called me and she said, you know, she'd been in her apartment. Could you come? And I said, no, Mother, I don't like to drive when it snows.
Mhm.
And so she understood. So later that day, she called me up and she said, Homer Lean and the Kildys came to visit me, and they spent the afternoon. They were the Seventh-day Adventists. That's what I mean. It was, they taught you to be so acceptant, and people so accepted you. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Not, when anybody makes a remark, well, he's Jewish or something, I think, what does that have to do with it? You know, being narrow-minded about people hurts.
Mhm.
And they taught us with the way we lived that everybody was wonderful, just like in Carolina.
Mhm.
They couldn't have been nicer to me. They were just so, I was Willie's wife, you know, but I mean,
Mhm.
but they took me to midnight mass, you know. When I look back and think, you know, to drive 50 miles to take me to midnight mass and ruin their Christmas.
Yeah.
But when I say about my family, I don't mean to be bragging, but they sure were a wonderful influence on all of us.
Mhm.
They taught you what it was like. Mother's greatest thing to say to you was, "You must always do your best," and that's the way we lived.
Hmm. Did um so you talked about when your husband died. How else did death affect you as you were growing up? Like,
It was terrible, you know
yeah.
what I mean? But again, I had all the family. Um, we didn't have Jimmy, our little boy. He'd pass. The day after Kelly was 1 year old, little Jimmy died.
Mhm.
But
When he was 3.
in 1959, he died.
Okay.
But I worked, you know, like I worked at the Army Engineers. I worked for um, Alaska Communications and stuff because Willie's health was bad. And then he was in a bad car accident
Mhm.
and broke his back. Um, so losing him was terrible.
Mhm.
But all you had to do was take care of your family. And luckily, I was working at Furcrest.
Mhm.
You know, it was just close to home. And I worked in personnel there. So I was lucky. I had an income. That's what Kelly said. He said, Mom, we always lived fine because you always had an income.
Yeah. How else did it affect you? Like when you were younger, did it come up often? Like death?
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you know? Like how did it? How did I don't? Did it? Was it
I
just?
took him to the hospital that morning.
Yeah.
I took him into the hospital. And what I remember, he was really a wonderful man. And you know, he said to me the day before he died, are all the bills paid? I remember. He'd always bring his money home and have me pay the bills.
Yeah.
But he had that, whatever they call it today, some kind of a syndrome or something.
Um,
He had a hard time handling anything. He
uh,
just couldn't handle things
was it effects from just?
from the war.
Yeah. What exactly did he do in the war?
Can you imagine being when you're 21 years old down in a big